Welcome to Shu.com. We are learning the laws of Shabbat by Rabbi Nachson, and we are up to doing Melacha on Erev Shabbat. So it's on Friday. What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? It is prohibited to perform Melacha activities that are unrelated to Shabbat, beginning from the 9.5 halachic hour of the day. That's Mincha Ketana. In order to prepare for the Shabbat properly, the Chachamim state that one who does unrelated Melacha activities during this time will not see blessing from them. This applies to both men and women. So let's look at the notes that he has on the bottom. He brings down the Tosefet Shabbat 251-1, Shulchan Aruch Arav 251-1. Mishnah Berurah explains that one will gain. That explains that what one will gain by working will be lost because of some other unexpected expense. Therefore, Yakut Yosef states that if one works during this time, one should at least use the money for a mitzvah purpose. So if a person is working past Mincha Ketana on Friday, it seemingly could lead to another unrelated expense that will come into his life because that time is not for working. Let's take a look at the next one, 103. The type of Melacha discussed is referring to physical work and not business. If one knows that everything is prepared for Shabbat by others, he is permitted to do business until the time of candle lighting. In any case, one should close his business with enough time to get ready for Shabbat, not wait until the last minute to close. So this is very important. It's Mishnah Berurah 251-1 because it's most people. Most people today are in business, they're doing work, sitting down on the computer. That's not called physical labor. Of course, you should make sure everything is being prepared and have time for Shabbat, but that's not the work that they were referring to when they made this seemingly gezerah. Let's look at Mishnah Berurah 251-1 states that one should at least close 20 minutes before Shki'ah, being the time for Hadakat Nerot. And Halacha Berurah, volume 13, page 458, adds that one who is hired to work for someone should stipulate before taking the job that he should be able to leave work early on Friday, so he will has ample time to prepare Shabbat properly, and also, of course, Yamim Tovim and the like. Let's continue. 104. Any Melacha that is permitted on Chol HaMoed is also permitted on Erev Shabbat. Similarly, any Melacha that is needed for Shabbat is also permitted. 105. One may sew his clothing on Erev Shabbat even after Mincha Ketana if he needs the clothing for a Shabbat, since the Chachamim only prohibited doing Melacha for financial gain. One may also fix another person's clothing that are needed for Shabbat if he does not charge for doing so. 106. One may only build a sukkah after Mincha Ketana if the first night of Sukkot is on Shabbat. However, if the first night of Sukkot is on Sunday night, then one may not build a sukkah on Erev Shabbat after Mincha Ketana. 107. On Erev Shabbat, one may not do any gardening, building, and other forms of physical labor after Mincha Ketana. However, one may have a non-Jew do work for him during this time. 108. Although after Mincha Ketana it is forbidden for a sofer to write any holy manuscripts, one may write novel Torah ideas. So you can continue writing your Divrei Torah. 109. It is permitted to put dirty laundry in a washing machine on Erev Shabbat and iron his clothing even after the time of Mincha Ketana. Now the next subject, doing a Melacha on Erev Shabbat that will continue on Shabbat. This is very interesting. There's a lot of footnotes that are going to come up on this one. One may perform a Melacha on Erev Shabbat even if the Melacha will continue to be performed by itself on Shabbat. For example, one may turn on a sprinkler on Erev Shabbat even though it will continue to water the grass on Shabbat itself. Now in the Shulchan Aruch 252-5 and Chazon Ovadia Shabbat volume 1 page 134, other examples such as placing a pot on a fire before Shabbat in order to continue cooking on Shabbat will be discussed later in the Melacha Bishul, and he'll also in Halacha Berurah in volume 15 page 512, who adds that one may also put on a cast on Erev Shabbat or apply a cream for healing purpose even though it will continue to heal on Shabbat. 111. Even objects that makes a lot of noise when in use may be left running on Shabbat if they are set before Shabbat. For example, one may place clothing in a dryer before Shabbat, even though it will continue to run on Shabbat. You can prepare it as long as we're talking now about the melachot that someone starts before Shabbat, but it continues by itself on Shabbat. It would be allowed. 112. One may set a timer from before Shabbat that will turn on an electrical appliance on Shabbat. We're going to go into an interesting case here. Similarly, one may set an alarm clock on Erev Shabbat for Shabbat morning in order to wake up the next day, even though it will make a lot of noise. Let's say a guy knows he wants to wake up for Netz Minyan on Shabbat. You can put an alarm clock to do it. Now, let's see if a regular alarm.
There's one walking around.
Oh, they have one only for Shabbat, like on the phone, an app. Okay, 113. Strictly speaking, one may leave his phone or fax machine on even on Shabbat, even though there's a possibility that a non-religious Jew may call the phone and leave a message on Shabbat. He may be wrong. Maybe there's a Hiloni or something. It's okay. However, it is praiseworthy to shut off the phone line, if possible, in order to prevent this from happening. So he recommends to shut off the phone completely. 114, one may set up a trap, such as a mouse trap before Shabbat, even though it may trap the animal on Shabbat. 115, the laws of commanding and telling a Jew on Erev Shabbat to do a Melacha on Shabbat will be discussed in the laws of Amirah La'akum. That's, let's say you have a goy, non-Jewish person working, you tell him, okay, look, it's Friday afternoon, tomorrow, tonight, Shabbat, I want you to do this, go do this. That's Amirah La'akum. We're going to talk about it a little later on. I want to show you just one of the halachot. It's not brought down in the book, but we learned it with Rabbi Mansour, that let's say a person wants to have cold soup on Shabbat morning. Okay, he put the soup away, he wants to have a cold soup, or he wants to warm up a liquid on Shabbat. How would he be able to do it? It's not in the book here, but we're going to talk about it. He says that you could put a timer. What do? You put the timer that the hot plate will turn on Shabbat morning, and then what you do is you take the cold liquid that you have of the soup before the timer goes on, put it onto the hot plate, the plata, the hot plate that's electric. It's still cold, but you put cold soup on the cold item, and the timer went on, and by itself it warmed up, it would be mutar. Rabbi Mansour taught us that would be allowed. So there's a couple interesting halachot. Let's look at the footnotes on the bottom. 164, regarding setting a television set or radio on a timer in order to be able to watch or listen to the programs being played on Shabbat. Let's take a look at this. He brings down the Minchat Shlomo, the Shulchan Shlomo. He brings Har Sevi, Yabi'a Omer, Halechot Olam, Chazon Abadja, and then he brings Halacha B'Dura and Shemirat Shabbat Ki, who states that this is considered Zilzul Shabbat. Furthermore, there is a problem of benefiting from work done on Shabbat by a Jew. Even if there is only one Jewish person who works in the TV station that is being watched, then this is prohibited, since one may not benefit from Melacha done by a Jew on Shabbat. And in any case, even during the week, one may not have a TV at home, since it is a breach in the values of Torah. Next, he says here in Igrot Moshe, who is stringent if people will be able to hear the alarm from outside of one's room. However, most poskim are lenient. So he says when it came to alarm clock, that you should be concerned for people in other rooms, but at the end the poskim are mekel. And he brings down here further, who brings from Harav Yitzhak Yosef, who ruled that one may set an alarm on a cell phone as well, even with music, provided that one places it in a place where one will not accidentally forget that it is Shabbat and turn off the alarm. So if you want to make the alarm and have some music on it for Shabbat morning, you want to wake up early, if you want to do that, you could do it, put it in your closet, it would be permitted. As long as obviously no one has to touch it or shut it off or the like. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.